49 lakh rupees. 49 lakh rupees ex-showroom for this long wheelbase BMW iX1. Now, if you're wondering why I'm so flabbergasted by that number, let me give you a bit of perspective. Up until now, the iX1 was sold only in standard wheelbase, guys, and that cost 67 lakh rupees. And here we have the new long wheelbase version with way more space in the back seat for 49 lakh rupees. Now that price is also much cheaper than all of its electric luxury rivals from Mercedes, from Volvo, and it's firmly into the territory of Hyundai and BYD. So how have they done it? Well, the obvious answer is local assembly. The old car was a CBU, this is a CKD, and BMW wants to pass on the benefits to the customer. But here's a bit more perspective. The petrol-powered BMW X1, also standard wheelbase by the way, is also locally assembled, and it costs 1.5 lakh rupees more than this electric version. So has BMW just shot itself in the foot with this one, or is this one of the biggest masterstrokes in luxury cars today? Let us know down in the comments what you think. I'm going to drive the car to find out. My name's Gavin, this is Autocar India. I hope you're subscribed, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. But first, how will people know that you've got the long wheelbase iX1? There's a little L on the badge, but to the uninitiated, it's hard to spot the extra length at first. The good news is that it doesn't look ungainly like, say, the 5 Series did after its stretch. In fact, personally, I find the proportions a little better than the standard model. It's a shame though that they didn't change the wheels from the previous version. Those 18 inches look a little bit lost in the large square wheel arches, especially with the longer body. And stretch aside, it looks exactly the same as the short wheelbase iX1, even retaining its M Sport styling kit. This gives some requisite attitude to what is no longer a compact vehicle in any sense, and saves it from looking a bit too slab-sided. Yes, some of the details might still polarize, the tail lamps and the grille especially, but there's no doubt it still looks striking. Moving inside, and from the driver's seat, it would seem even less has changed. The interior hasn't changed much at all. The upholstery is brown, but the rest of it is just about the same. You still get this floating center console, which I like very much, and a few physical controls here, but largely everything relegated to the touchscreen. I'm not particularly a fan of the new BMW OS 9. I think it's a bit too cluttered, but that's just me. I also like the way this dashboard looks with the asymmetric design, but I know a lot of you don't like it. Let us know down in the comments which camp you fall into. But otherwise, it's a nice spacious cabin with lots of storage. There's even a cool little place to keep your phone here on the wireless charger. And it gives you an overall pretty sporty driving feel from behind the wheel. Quality is generally pretty good, but there are some harder plastics lower down that remind you that this is an entry-level BMW. You'll also notice that the paddle for boost function is no longer here in this car, and you no longer get the massage function on the seat, and as before, there's no heating or ventilation. And with that, let's take a look at the features on this long wheelbase iX1. Apart from the aforementioned boost mode and massage functions and missing seat ventilation, it's decently equipped with the likes of adaptive LED headlamps, auto wipers, wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, dual zone climate control, 12-speaker Harman Kardon audio, and a big panoramic sunroof. On the safety front, there's 8 airbags, parking assist, and even some ADAS features, which I can report work well in our conditions. Additionally, BMW is offering some features as paid subscriptions, and these include the onboard navigation and even certain drive modes. In fact, while the boot is big at 490 liters, you'll notice that there's no spare, because it too is a paid option. That is disappointing. Maybe that's how they managed to achieve that killer price, but perhaps you'll be willing to forgive the iX1 once you swing open the big back door. Now here is clearly what all of you came for, the back seat of the long wheelbase BMW iX1. Now it's more than just your regular stretch. The car is 116 mm longer overall, of which 108 mm has gone into the wheelbase, primarily into the back seat. But it's not just that, because they've also changed the seat itself. They've extended the squab by 15 millimeters and they've added softer padding for the cushioning. There's also a recline function, which you access from these little straps in the seat. It gets you up to 28.5 degrees of recline. I prefer it a little bit more upright. But how has that all worked out? Well, the space is clearly super generous. That said, to my position, I'm just under 5'8", and knee room is incredibly vast. Headroom too is pretty great, and you now get a fixed glass roof instead of an opening panoramic sunroof. However, there's no getting around the raised floor which houses the battery, and that can be felt. Though the squab has been extended, and yes, it is definitely a little bit softer and more comfortable, thigh support still could have been a little bit better, but we let that one slide just for the amount of space you get here. You do of course get an armrest with cup holders, but yeah, like in the 5 Series long wheelbase, you don't get sun blinds at the rear, and that's a serious miss. You do get rear AC vents, though there's no third climate zone, and you do get 2 USB Type-C ports. As with the regular iX1, the floor is a little bit flatter than the petrol versions, but there is a bit of a hump there that shouldn't be too much of a problem for most passengers. But overall, I think they've succeeded in making this an iX1 for the chauffeur driven. The regular iX's back seat was just okay, and this has truly elevated into a place that you might spend a lot of time in as a chauffeur driven owner. That really is more than half the battle won for the iX1, but let's take it for a drive all the same. The previous version was very fun to drive, and on that front, this one has one change, and it's a rather significant one. The big news is a move from a dual motor all-wheel drive setup to a single motor setup, but because this new X1 in its petrol guise is a front-wheel drive model, so is the electric version. A lot of EVs, when they're two-wheel drive, are rear-wheel drive, but as this is an ICE derived platform, it's front-wheel drive, just like the petrol and diesel cars. In losing that other motor, you've also lost quite a bit of power, around 110 horsepower. The old one was 313, this one's down to 204. And I'm not gonna lie, you feel that pretty immediately. The xDrive 30 car, that was manic. It would accelerate like a scalded cat. This one, it feels a lot more gentle, a lot more restrained, and that's actually okay. Does it feel underpowered? No, not at all. It's just not as crazy powerful as the xDrive 30. Overtakes are still handled with surprising ease, as you might expect from an EV. But yeah, that lightning quick acceleration is not there. And again, I'm perfectly okay with that. I think I'm kind of over EVs being snappy accelerative. Now they just need to be good cars, and that this is. In fact, the acceleration is a lot more manageable, which for everyday luxury buyers is a lot more useful, let's be honest. In case you're wondering about that acceleration, in our tests it managed 0 to 100 kph in 8.3 seconds, which is almost 3 seconds slower than the older xDrive 30 version. You still get BMW's bizarre new set of drive modes called My Modes, which annoyingly still require 2 steps to activate. There's personal, sport and efficient, which are the main ones, but then there are expressive, relaxed, digital art and whatnot, which don't really do much other than change the colors. But there's a new silent mode which I have not experienced before, which, true to its name, kills off all the Hans Zimmer electronic sounds that come through the speakers. It is genuinely as quiet as it can be. And it's here in silent mode that's the best place to judge this car's refinement. And I gotta say, it is really quite silent. I'm on a pretty coarse road surface right now, and there's a little bit of a hum from the tires, but not much else. As that beep will have told you, we're doing 80 kilometers an hour, and you just can't tell. Now, if you're worried about the longer wheelbase affecting your performance over speed breakers, by that I mean clearing them with ease, worry not, because this car does have a substantial amount of ground clearance. BMW says it has about 175 mm of laden ground clearance, which should translate to about 185, almost 190 mm of unladen ground clearance. And that's, you'll agree, quite a bit. Now, there was a time when BMW were the masters of in-cabin tech and Mercedes were the masters of ride quality, and those are two attributes that seem to have switched around lately. But since we're on the road, let's talk about that ride quality, and I gotta say, it is fantastic. BMW over the years has been slowly moving away from its ultimate driving machine positioning and into, well, more conventional, comfortable luxury car territory, and that's just as well. And it's a good thing that this X1 long wheelbase rides really well because this is intended for the chauffeur driven. Body control, good. Bump absorption, very good. And it also manages to do high speed highway stability. But it hasn't completely lost that fun to drive BMW nature. Show it a set of corners and you'll find a nice, fast, entertaining steering. It's a little bit light on weight, but we'll forgive it that because it's just so direct and responsive. And in corners, you'll find that body control again is very, very good. It doesn't roll all that much. And yeah, though it's not the high watermark that BMW itself set all those years ago, it's still a pretty fun car to drive.
If you were to drive it back to back with the short wheelbase iX1, you'd realize it lost some agility when it gained the extra length. It's a little bit lazier on turn-in, but in isolation, it's still pretty darn good.
As with all BMW EVs, tapping the gear selector down one step puts it into B mode, and that means battery or boost mode, because what it enables is one pedal driving. You lift off and the car will come to a complete halt. Now, that's an interesting way to drive. It'll probably get you a lot of range back, but what this mode also does is activate the full potential of the acceleration. And here again, compared to the all-wheel drive 313 horsepower version, it just doesn't feel quite as strong. Now, B mode is an easy way to get you some additional regen, but what if you wanted to choose different levels? Yes, there are levels: low, moderate, high, and adaptive. But you don't get to choose those levels using paddle shifters or any switch here on the dashboard. No, you have to go into the menus and select it from there, which is very, very annoying.
A quick word on range, which does appear to have gone up a bit. The previous car was rated at 440 kilometers, while the new one is 531. But it should be noted that the old range figure was on the WLTP cycle, while this is on the Indian MIDC cycle.
You might think that using adaptive regen mode, the mode that automatically sets the regen level based on your driving conditions, might be the answer, but no, it isn't. That's because it doesn't function very smoothly or very intuitively. It has preset speeds at which it will suddenly go from high to low to medium to no regeneration, and it's quite jarring and harsh. I don't think it works very well. And where the old car at least had one paddle that activated a boost mode behind the steering wheel, that's a feature that has been removed from this version.
But these are problems for your driver, as the focus with the iX1 long wheelbase is the rear seat. BMW says this car was created to solve two problems. One, buyers complained that entry-level luxury cars felt too cramped for their price. And two, while market leader Mercedes has a stranglehold on the top end of the market, the bottom end was there for the taking. Think of the iX1 LWB as a sister car to the 3 Series Grand Limousine, and it starts to make sense. This car then is a statement of intent from the Bavarian brand, a flag to market's territory. And if the combination of superb rear seat space and that knockout price entice enough buyers, it might just be what can jumpstart the waning entry luxury segment. Thank you for watching.